Why are Republicans in general so eager to end the idea of fact-checking? What are they trying to share?
The facts are becoming too politically biased.
The changes announced by Meta today are very much a MAGA makeover.
Today is a day that ends in Y, so lefty journalists and activists online are losing it for no good reason. Now we got to talk about Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and Mark Zuckerberg, because he just made a big announcement that has left-wing types from across the media and across the internet losing their ever-loving minds in truly kind of bizarre and hysterical fashion. The short version of this news is just that Zuckerberg came out and said that they'll be moving Meta back towards free speech and open expression, loosening their content moderation guidelines, which is kind of a euphemism for the things they censor, take down, throttle, shadow ban. And they'll also be doing away with Facebook's notorious and frankly kind of infamous fact-checking program, where they employed and partnered with these third-party fact-checkers who were supposed to be neutral, but in reality had a very clear liberal bias, routinely fact-checked true things or memes, and it wasn't working out well. They're going to be doing away with that and instead copying the system that Elon Musk has instituted, I think fairly successfully, over on X, formerly known as Twitter, of a community note style thing, where basically crowdsourcing, kind of Wikipedia style, an approach to fact-checking things or appending context to misleading posts. Here's Zuckerberg's video message that kicked off this firestorm.
It's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US.
To me, this really isn't that controversial. Seems like he's just kind of catching up to the tide. Is it a true, genuine change of heart? I don't know. Is he kind of just moving with the wind? America's moving back towards culture of open expression, getting sick of PC woke crap. Is he just following the crowd, or did he actually believe this, but now feels that he can enact it because the kind of tides have changed? I don't know. That's an interesting conversation to have. But I'm more interested in the genuinely deranged way that people have responded to this news, which really shouldn't be that controversial if you kind of just believe Americans can handle hearing things and seeing things that might not be approved by the fact checkers. But apparently it's incredibly, incredibly controversial. And also some people seem to have some rather profound misconceptions about what is and isn't happening here. Like this one TikTok influencer who seems to struggle with comprehension of the English language. Take a listen.
Get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. Fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created.
I feel the need to repeat to you what he just said. The facts are becoming too politically biased.
Hold up. That's literally not what he said, though. He said the fact checkers have become too biased. That's not the same thing as saying the facts are too politically biased. Does she not know how words work?
The facts are becoming too politically biased. I think I'm gonna need more than just Lexapro at this point.
Oof. I mean, homegirl here really just crashed out on camera over a complete misunderstanding of what is actually going on. To claim that fact checkers have been too biased or aren't doing a good job and it's better to shift to an alternative system of fact checking via community notes, via crowdsourcing, via just letting people use their own judgment about what's true and what's false is not the same thing as saying facts are too politically biased. No, fact checkers are interpreters. They're third parties who get to decide, who have massive amounts of leverage, who can label things as misleading or untrue or lacking context. It's not just some neutral verification process. In fact, on Facebook, we saw fact checkers claiming things were false or conspiracy theories like the COVID lab leak theory that the coronavirus may have come from a lab leak at a Wuhan lab. They labeled that fake news and took down posts and fact-checked them. Now that's a leading theory many government agencies believe was the cause of the pandemic. Also, as the Babylon Bee pointed out, they repeatedly fact-check memes and jokes, punishing and restricting pages, shadow banning them, or even deleting their posts or limiting their ability to post over memes. The Babylon Bee posted a thread to Twitter where they went over some of the most outrageous instances of Facebook punishing them with their fact-checking system when they posted obvious jokes. For example, one Babylon Bee post was titled, "CNN purchases industrial-sized washing machine to spin news before publication." Facebook appended a fact check warning that this had been debunked by Snopes.com, an independent fact checker, and that the Babylon Bee would see their distribution reduced and their ability to monetize and advertise removed if they kept posting fake news like this. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was a repeat occurrence. This one actually killed me. They wrote a headline and published it to Facebook. Ninth Circuit Court overturns death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, the late Supreme Court Justice and liberal icon. And Facebook's fact checkers checked this and pointed out that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals did not overturn RBG's death. Wow. Thank you to the stunning and brave members of the media for doing this diligent fact-checking. So many Americans would have been misled and thought that a court overturned someone's death if not for these heroes stepping in and clearing up this misinformation, inflicting the vulnerable minds of Americans who are just so hopelessly gullible and stupid. So my point here, these are just a few examples, but the Facebook fact-checking system has been incredibly flawed. It's caught up all sorts of content. And then the people doing the fact-checking, some of them do a good job, but some of them, like Snopes or like PolitiFact, do have a pretty clear political bias and have been called out for favoring some sides over others, for bad fact checks. It's not a perfect art. And frankly, it's just not clear to me that it's a necessary system at all. I, unlike some of these liberal types, trust Americans to be able to tell that CNN did not literally purchase an industrial-sized washing machine to spin the news without armies of fact-checkers punishing satire accounts for posting jokes. Like, this is not some system that we need to save democracy the way they're making it out to be. It's just not. And I think the main difference here comes down to the fact that some people belittle the public, view them as stupid, and view them as helpless, and think they need to be protected from information they might not understand. And some people trust people's ability to, by and large, nothing will be perfect. Some people will believe fake news, but sort things out for themselves. And I'm in that camp. Whereas these types, as I'm about to show you, are very much in the camp that no, the elites need to be able to gatekeep and safeguard what memes people are allowed to see, or all hell will break loose. Or as one columnist for The Guardian put it, we're now in a new era of lies because Mark Zuckerberg has just ushered in an extinction level event for truth on social media. Bruh. Y'all, they're serious. Some of the delulu is off the charts. The idea that we're going to have an extinction level event for truth in our society because people can post memes unrestricted, or liberal gatekeepers won't be able to punish pages that post things they claim are incorrect. Yeah, no, actually, no. In fact, I actually think the community notes system has worked out pretty well on Twitter. And most of the time when I see something getting a ton of traction that I know to be incorrect or false or misleading, there's a community note attached. And again, the old system trusted the fact checkers to serve as some sort of benevolent arbiters of truth, putting way too much power in the hands of people who could censor accounts and punish them and take away their livelihoods if they declared their stuff fact-checked as false. It put all this power in the hands of people who were deeply biased and who are prone to abuse it. So yeah, I think it's not an extinction level event. It's just going to mean more free speech and open discourse online, which somehow is something that our modern journalistic class, at least in the form of figures like Joy Reid of MSNBC, hates openly and is very upset about. Take a look at the rather deranged video she posted about Mark Zuckerberg's announcement.
Why would conservatives think fact-checking is biased against them? I mean, what are you sharing if you keep getting fact checked for false information?
I don't know. Lots of things about COVID-19, for example, many of which turned out to be true.
Think about it. What were conservatives sharing on Meta that was getting flagged so much? Are they spreading false information? And why are Republicans in general so eager to end the idea of fact checking? What are they trying to share? What is the motivation for not wanting it to be fact checked?
So this is just one creepy, girl, this angle is not angling for you. I don't know what you're trying to come off as, but yikes. But more importantly, she's just lying or completely misinformed or misunderstanding. Republicans, first of all, it's not clear Mark Zuckerberg is a Republican. He's kind of gone through an ideological journey, so I don't know exactly where he's at these days. But regardless, they're not trying to get rid of fact-checking. They're trying to change the way in which fact-checking is being done. And so instead of being in the hands of a few heavily liberal elite institutions like PolitiFact or Snopes, which are biased and problematic in many ways, it will be done through kind of crowdsourced ways like community notes. That's still a fact-checking system. They're not trying to get rid of fact-checking. That's an untrue straw man claim. It's just not a correct interpretation of what's going on here. There will be fact-checking through a new system that will democratize the fact-checking and the kind of containment of incorrect information instead of just giving it to journalistic liberal elites like the kind of people that work at PolitiFact. That's why they hate this, to be clear. It's like their class is losing power. Their friends are losing power. And a new system is going to be tried that, again, I think has worked well on X by and large, that instead kind of spreads out that power to the people. But not everyone can just participate in community notes. And you have to have kind of a track record. It's got to reach consensus. It's got to have real sources. It's a legit process. It's not just anyone can edit anything. But it is a more kind of democratized, decentralized process, taking power away from gatekeepers like this. And they kind of give the game away when folks like Brian Stelter of CNN get on here and say that allowing more free speech just is MAGA or something. Take a listen.
It gets to this broader sense that when people like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg talk about free speech, everybody wants free speech.
That's not true. How can you have lived through the last several years or even decades of censorship, of people wanting to make misinformation banned from social media and even censored by the government, of people wanting to make misgendering a crime, of the federal government pressuring companies to take down speech they don't like, and think everyone still supports free speech? Are you living in Delulu land? Have you not read any public opinion polling in decades? That's just not true. But keep going off, I guess.
It oftentimes seems that these tech CEOs actually are favoring or preferring a certain kind of speech, right? They're favoring their own speech or their own political preferences and not the actual entire user or the community's speech. The changes announced by Meta today are very much a MAGA makeover, a pro-Trump makeover. And that's going to win Meta some conservative users, but it may repel some liberals. That's the same thing we've seen happen on Elon Musk's X. He's turned it into more of a right-wing platform where he's pro-free speech when it's really pro-Musk or pro-Trump speech.
Yeah, so this again is just totally not true. The changes announced by Meta are about allowing more open discourse and debate on a variety of topics, from gender to immigration to sexuality. It is not allowing more MAGA speech, unless you're saying that only MAGA and conservatives believe in free speech now, which isn't true. There's still many classical liberals, independents, libertarians, and even some Democrats and progressives who believe in free speech. And not all MAGA types actually do. Some of them are hypocrites on different questions of free speech. But it feels like you're actually conceding the point or admitting that in your view, free speech is now a MAGA opinion, which are you trying to do PR for MAGA? Are you trying to make Trump look good and his supporters look more correct and more based? Because if that's your goal, good job, Brian. But if your goal is to accurately analyze Meta's changes or inform your viewers about the reality of this situation, then not such a good job here, my dude. Not a good job at all. But what do you guys think of this whole crap show and all the people losing it over more free speech being allowed online. Like, I just can't imagine personally waking up and fixing my mouth to be mad about people being more free to express themselves. Like, but that's just me, I guess. Maybe you can understand where they're coming from more so than I can. So do let me know in the comments. I love reading the comments. I always take the time to and hearing what you guys have to say. Do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet, and do hit that like button before you go.